going to start the Tiny Planet project. For the Tiny Planet project, you're going to need either a landscape or a cityscape, but it needs to have a straight horizon line. This image right here does show a straight horizon, and the horizon is where the land meets the sky. Sometimes it's water, so if you're looking out at the ocean, it's where the water meets the sky. But it's really important that that image, that shot was taken where you can see that horizon line clearly. The other thing you're looking for is you're going to look at your edges. So if I look at the left edge, I've got pretty much flat land, and also I have that on the right edge. But what's happening in the sky, you should kind of pay attention to that as well. So this cloud, this dark cloud, gets cut off pretty abruptly right here on the right hand side, and that's going to create some issues for you when you create your tiny planet. So let's go ahead and do some searches on this. And a couple things you could search are cityscape, landscape. You could do cityscape horizon. You could type in the name of a city. So it really just depends on what you're looking for. If you definitely want buildings though, I would suggest you look for cityscape. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in cityscape and do a search for that. Going to images. And I want to search large images. Okay, so I'm looking for a clear horizon. This image right here has a clear horizon, but I'm looking, the sky looks pretty good, but I'm looking at this edge here and this edge on the left has a cutoff, pretty dark building cutoff right there, and I think that might create a problem. So I'm going to keep looking. Okay, this looks like New York City, so let's look at this image. Okay, I think this image might work because there's no tall building on this edge, and then this edge, it does have a building, but it's not that tall, and this doesn't look like anything that's going to look extremely cut off. The sky is pretty nice and clean. So let's go ahead and try working with this image. So let me drag that down into Photoshop. And the first thing we're going to do is actually distort this. And we would normally never purposely distort an image. However, in this case, this whole project is about distortion, so we're not going to worry about it. Go to Image, Image Size, and we want to make this a square. So what you want to do in this window is unchain the width and the height. And again, normally when you're sizing in this window, you would never unchain that. But since we're doing distortion on purpose and we need this to be a square, we're going to go ahead and check on that. And I'm going to take my smaller size and I'm going to change it to match the larger size. So the larger size is 30.833. And so now they're matching, and I'm going to say OK. This is a very big image. Then I'm going to hit Command 0 to fit it back on the screen. Okay, so now I have a square which is distorted. And the next thing I want to do is I want to flip this image. So I'm going to go up to Image, Image Rotation, and I'm actually rotating it 180 degrees to turn it upside down. Next, we're going to go up to Filter, Distort, and then Polar Coordinates. In the polar coordinate screen, make sure you're on rectangular to polar and say OK. Okay, pretty easy. The beginnings of my tiny planet. If I zoom in to these corners, you can see where the sky starts distorting out and making these kind of striped flares in the corners. We want to get rid of that. So I'm going to zoom back out, Command 0. And at this point, I'm going to crop my image to the size that I want. Okay, and the size that we want for this is 8 inches by 8 inches with the 300 pixel per inch resolution. And I'll start up where that distortion in the corner begins and start dragging down on this. Mine's a little bit weird because I have this tall building. So I need to make sure mine's not going to be perfectly center, and that's okay. I need to make sure I have that building in there because that's an important part of my composition here. And then accept. Okay, then I'm going to Command 0, and I'm going to save this with my last name, my first name, and Tiny Planet, and save it into my folder. The next time we're going to be fixing this line here, and just depending on your image, that job is going to be different for each one of us. So even though my sky was pretty clean, I still have a pretty obvious line here. Those buildings don't look too bad right there because this could look like a tall building next to a short building. So that ended up being okay, but I will need to fix that line. So that'll be next time. So for right now, File, Save As. And we're going to call this last, first, Tiny Planet. It's actually saving as a JPEG because I have not added any layers. So I can turn it to a Photoshop file if I want. Either way, it doesn't matter. It'll be a Photoshop file by the time we're done with it the next time. And then going into my desktop, into my folder, Exploring Tech, and there's my Tiny Planet folder, and save. All right, so I am ready for next time, and this is actually a 2 tutorial project. So the next time we're going to actually finish this up and submit it.